For today's video, we will be focusing on none other than the heart of every home. Of course, it's the kitchen. Styling and decorating your kitchen in a beautiful way doesn't have to be expensive. And in this video, I'm going to take you guys along with me to the thrift store and show you how to do just that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. When we purchased our home a few years ago, this was basically how the kitchen started out. We have, of course, our outdated cabinetry, our green laminate countertops. The pantry was just, again, very builder grade with the wire shelving, no visual interest when you first walk in through the garage. So some of the more obvious changes that we made were to, of course, replace those countertops and also actually extend the island out so we could add some bar stools there. We also, of course, painted the cabinetry in perfect grayish. That also was a very cost-effective way to really modernize this kitchen. Of course, also eliminating the red and yellow walls, just keeping it feeling really nice and neutral, and also to, of course, add, again, a little bit more visual interest, adding backsplash, makes it more practical, especially in a kitchen. And while I definitely don't regret any of the choices that we made, in making those choices, our kitchen did become much more cold and sterile feeling after the renovation. So to help add that warmth back in, it's so important to add wood pieces into your kitchen. And as you're making these selections at Target, you might really feel like you are saving a ton because you're choosing to not go to Pottery Barn and spend an astronomical amount of money on one or two pieces of wooden decor for your kitchen. I can confidently tell you, you can find all of those pieces at Target eventually if you go consistently at the thrift store. For example, most recently, I came across these three boards here, I think styled on a peg rail or just leaned up against your backsplash, can instantly add that warmth back into your space if you're on a budget. The total cost for all three of these would have only been $20, which can be a significant savings, especially when you compare to these high-end retailers. And sometimes you can get really lucky and find things that are barely or even never used for a fraction of the cost. However, more often than not, you'll find pieces that might need a little bit of TLC. So for example, I found this butcher block here was in otherwise really great condition. I borrowed a hole saw from my neighbor, just sanded and stained it, and it looked so close to the one that I really wanted from McCaffeyie & Co, but on a budget. Another butcher block item I found recently from the Goodwill bins was this one here. Looks like a dead ringer to something that you could find at Williams-Sonoma or Crate and Barrel. Because everything at the Goodwill outlet is priced per pound, this only ended up being about $8, and the only thing that it really needed was some butcher oil, which I do see often at the Goodwill bins. A lot of times I don't think maybe people know that you just need to add butcher oil onto these boards to bring them back to life, or just give them a good sanding. For example, I found this Pottery Barn monogrammed wood board here. Now, I don't have anybody with the first or last name with the letter D in my family, but that's okay. All of that can be sanded down and reused again. So pieces like this that are 50 cents or $1 that originally cost way more, you can give them a whole new life simply by sanding them down. I did decide to take just a small section off of the top to give it a more modern feel, but it's sanded down so beautifully because it is mango wood. It matches my floors almost identically once it's sanded down. Just decided to add some twine to the top. This is perfect for styling on any little peg rail, any set of hooks you might have in your kitchen. And again, it's just gonna add that warmth right back in your kitchen, but on a budget. Another reason I like to buy my wood pieces at the thrift store is it gives you that creative freedom to turn it into whatever you really want. Like if you want to turn that board into a more primitive looking board, or you guys have seen me in the past just take a very basic wood round from the Goodwill, matter of painter's tape and antiquing wax, and you can create something really custom for your space. Also, it gives you the opportunity to repurpose items. Like when I took the top of this bar stool, just removed it from its base and then added some hardware. And it was a really affordable way and a resourceful way to get some primitive wood decor, add that warmth back into my kitchen, but on a budget. Now, of course, this includes, but is not limited to, just wood cutting boards. You can find all kinds of wooden pieces to add into your kitchen space that will really help to add that warmth back in, like using little wooden bowls for pinch salt or bigger wooden bowls for produce, or a little wooden box to store recipe cards. There's so many different variations of this idea, and it can still look and function really beautifully, but on a budget. Most recently, when I was at the antique mall, I came across this primitive table here. I love the rusticity and the warmth and the character that this adds to our space, but again, done so affordably. Now, of course, I have to refinish it. I'm contemplating adding different components to it to make it more like an actual bar cart, but choosing pieces like this versus something that everybody else has at Target will give that uniqueness and warmth to your space. Okay, really quick, if you've ever been married, had a wedding, I want you to leave me a comment down below on where you had your wedding registry. Many years ago, my husband and I registered at Target, and I can confidently tell you today that if I was going to sign up for a wedding registry, I would never choose Target. I actually feel like it would be harder for me now because of all of the things that I find at the thrift store that are basically new in perfect condition. So right now I'm in the process of trying to eliminate as much plastic as possible, and just making those substitutions on a budget is a really great way to save. Also in serveware is of course your plating. You can find such beautiful plates. All of the plates that I've ever purchased are from the thrift store, and they're so beautiful. Most recently I found a set of 4 of these plates here, as well as a matching platter. Doing a little bit of research, this whole set was going to be over $100, and because it is a glassware item, everything is priced per pound at just 49 cents per pound. You can walk away spending less than $5 on some quality pieces for serving, and also because they're beautiful, you can choose to display them. I've been seeing so many designers style plates just hung up on the wall, gives it a very vintage cottagecore look. You can find all of the pieces you need to do that again at the thrift store, and it can still look really beautiful, but on a budget. In a similar category is of course your glassware, another area that can add up really quickly when you shop high end or even at Target. You can find really beautiful glassware, stemware, barware at the thrift store for a fraction of the cost. For example, I found a set of 4 of these at the Goodwill retail side for just $1.25 a piece. Then I had a 35% off coupon, bringing it down to just $3.25 for beautiful stemware for red wine, to display on a bar cart, to display on open shelving. It just doesn't have to cost a lot to get a really great quality item when you shop secondhand. And of course, this goes beyond just your typical stemware and barware. You can find all of the pieces you need to reset your pantry on a budget if you shop secondhand. From a more decorative perspective, of course, any glass taper candle holders or just candle holders in general. I find it really hard to pay that retail price when I know at the bins you can find pieces that are the same or very similar for a fraction of the cost. For example, I found this really beautiful pedestal glass vase. Looks so similar to something you could find at Williams-Sonoma, but again, because it's based on weight, I paid less than $5 for it. Just going to, of course, clean it really well. Doing this simple trick instantly adds life into your kitchen, adds a warmth into your kitchen, but it doesn't have to break the bank. Next up, let's talk about incorporating our metal accents. And one thing I think people maybe underutilize, I guess, in their spaces is not really utilizing the wall space at all, or just going with typical framed artwork. And there are so many other things you can put on your walls besides art that will add so much more functionality into your space. I've been seeing so much of this twisted brass on so many designer websites. So when I found this glass shelf here, I definitely don't need any more shelves to style. So instead of leaving it as a shelf, I'm going to turn this into a wall candle holder. Really simply, just of course removing all the tape, removing the felt, and of course the shelf. Instead, we're just going to take these small plastic caps here and add those on top of where the felt was sitting. And of course, after they're attached, we're just going to unify them with some brass paint that I will link in the description box below. As a side note, if your E6000 or any adhesive that you're working with gets clogged up, just stick a nail through the nozzle, so then that way you can use it. And then you can also store it that way, so that way that doesn't happen anymore. Once those were cured and attached, I just taped them in place until they were. We're just going to, again, use that brass paint with a small bristle brush, painting the inside, the outside, until everything is nice and uniform. All that was left to do was hang it up on the wall, and this is kind of what I mean by adding that character into your space. To keep it from feeling really builder grade and cold and sterile, it adds that warmth, that personalization, but on a budget. Next up, let's talk about textiles. I know everybody's comfort level is different, but for me, if I can wash it in my washing machine and then dry it, I feel really comfortable bringing it home. So if I find a piece that's, let's say, 5 or 10 cents, that if I went to Target and found something similar would be much more, I of course would rather pick it up at the thrift store. In addition to that, I think a lot of people also think that the textiles that you're gonna come across are really outdated. But the thing is, things are moving so quickly all the time in interior design that you're finding things that you can also find at World Market, at Target, at Pottery Barn, but it's gonna be so much more affordable by shopping secondhand. For example, I found a set of 6 of these. These look like something you could definitely find at Pottery Barn. I can't wait to use them for the spring and summer months. Again, just adds a different layer, a different texture, adds that warmth back into my kitchen. Of course, kitchen textiles go beyond your tablecloths, your napkins, your placemats. It also includes if you wanted to hang like a valance or if you want to do a cafe curtain in a pantry. Adding these pieces in is a really great way and a subtle way to infuse a little bit of pattern without it feeling overwhelming. Some of you may remember when I found these curtains here. I initially hung them as valances, but they kept getting dirty quickly because they were by the sink, so I would have to take them down, wash them. So instead of just donating them back, I decided to just use them as some cafe curtains in my pantry. And we all have things we don't want to look at all the time, right? Like we have different kitchen appliances and gadgets that are small scale, but you don't want them to clutter up your space. Sticking them at the bottom of your pantry and then disguising them with a little cafe curtain is a really great way to add that personalization, add that warmth into your space, but on a budget. Which of course now brings me to the pantry. As I mentioned earlier, when we first moved in, it was just your typical wire shelving. The only thing I really did was I just made wood shelves to go on top of each of the wire shelving, and I just painted them white, and that immediately just made them look so much neater, so much cleaner. Really cost effective if you're looking to update your pantry a bit. But another cost-effective thing you can do if you're looking for pantry organization, I cannot stress this enough. You can find so many of these pieces at the thrift store. There is no need to go to Target and spend $12 on an acrylic organizer when you can find the exact same thing at the thrift store for a fraction of the cost. While that is definitely true, I also understand usually in one thrift store visit, you're not going to find all of the same containers, all of the same baskets, so everything looks nice and uniform. So what I've done is, because I've been thrifting for so many years, I now know the pieces that I come across often and the pieces that are more rare. So I like to stick with only glass canisters. For my wovens, I only use seagrass, and as you can see, I still have some white bins here. That's just because I haven't found those seagrass baskets yet. When I do, I'll just replace those plastic items. Other pieces I've found, like these wood stacking bins. These look like a dead ringer to something you could find at the Container Store. Some of you might remember when I found this chicken wire basket, just decided to store my potatoes in here. But making these selections really just improves the overall look of the pantry without sacrificing function. Last but not least, let's talk about the island, which in my specific kitchen is definitely a focal point. I know a lot of times people say style in groups of 3. For my specific island, that feels a little bit too busy. So I like to stick to some form of statement greenery, and then adjacent to it, I like to have some sort of a bowl filled with either fresh fruit or produce or even a candle, something again to add that life and that warmth into my kitchen space. So I found this planter here at the Goodwill retail side, as well as all of these florals. And if you guys are not new to this channel, you all know how much I hate using fake flowers, but we are in the dead middle of winter right now. So doing this is a kind of bridge into when our garden really starts growing again, and I can just go to my cut garden and create arrangements. But for right now, this is going to have to do. One thing I personally like to do to give them a more realistic feel is to, of course, add something real inside. So just going to Trader Joe's, blending that in with the faux florals gives an overall more realistic presentation, but it was done so on a budget. Another thing I've been seeing designers do more often is to add small scale mirrors and wall art into their kitchen. And I think if it's done correctly, it can work really well. So I found this mirror at the Goodwill outlet for just $2. Now, when you're placing mirrors really anywhere, not just your kitchen, you want to make sure where you're placing the mirror, what is going to be reflected. So when I'm standing at my kitchen island, making dinner or whatever, what I'm seeing reflected back to me is, of course, a window, bouncing a lot of natural light back into the kitchen, and then also some greenery, the wall sconce. So you want that to be as aesthetically pleasing as possible. And again, this doesn't have to be super expensive. This was just a $2 mirror at the Goodwill outlet. Last but not least, I think just adding a few cookbooks or hosting related books into a kitchen just gives it a more lived-in feel. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I'm rarely going to reference a cookbook if I have to get dinner on the table. I'm more likely to go to ChatGPT, take a picture of what is inside my refrigerator, and it will generate 5 healthy dinner options that can come together in under 30 minutes. But that's also just the current season of life that I'm in. So especially because I'm not going to necessarily be utilizing these cookbooks, I wanna just make sure that I'm not investing so much money into them as well. And shopping secondhand can be a really great way to get that look, but on a budget. With all that being said, that really wraps it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope in this video you were able to walk away with a few different ideas on things that you should be looking for at your thrift store to update your kitchen space without breaking the bank. I hope that everybody has a fantastic week, and I will see you guys back here next Sunday. Bye for now.